Awesome. And thank you once again for joining us for today's session. This will be the Clear Admit webinar for West Coast MBA programs. We have 5 different schools that we want to introduce to you, and we're going to learn a lot about what their connections are to their region, what these programs offer, how they are the same, how they are different, and then, of course, at the end, give you all a chance to ask each of the schools your questions as well, so you can learn more about which one is the best fit for you if you're looking for an MBA program in the next year or so, or maybe even as soon as round 2, which those deadlines are coming up faster than you know. So my name is Mike. I'm with Clear Admit. That's really all you need to know about me today. I will be moderating this session. And when we moderate sessions, we like to kind of just stay out of the way. The schools will shine. We'll have a little bit of information about what we do at Clear Admit at the end. But for now, let's introduce our schools and let's get things started. So first off, I want to go over to Meg Roundy, who's the Associate Director of Full-Time MBA Admissions over at Berkeley Haas. Hi, Meg.
Hi, Mike. How are you? What should I share?
Just hello and tell us how you're feeling today, and maybe if you're excited to be here, if you're not excited to be here, we like that too.
I'm so excited to be here. Very excited to be here. I'm Meg Roundy from the Haas School of Business. Today I am feeling great. Cool, a little bit rainy morning in California, which is weird that it's raining. So yeah, it's probably going to be an interesting day.
Yeah,
thanks, Mike.
Rare California rain moments, which don't happen too often. So yeah, awesome. Thanks for being here. Awesome that you're here. We'll switch over now to Julianne Klein, Associate Director of Enrollment at Stanford Graduate School of Business.
Hi, everyone. Nice to see you all. I'm very excited to be here as well, just like Meg. I've been at the GSB for about 6 years at the MBA admissions office, and I'm a transplant from the East Coast. So if anyone has questions about the move to California, I thought it was going to be temporary and it's become my home. So I'm happy to talk about that too and excited to hear your questions.
I love that. And one of the things we were chatting a little bit before getting started is there's a few of those transplants in this room right now. So yeah, awesome to hear more about that as we go on. Thanks for being here. Over now to Lindsay Haberman, Associate Director of Recruitment and Admissions for the Full-Time MBA at University of California Irvine Merage School of Business. Lindsay, sorry for the stumble there, but how are you today?
I am great. Thank you all. Yeah, Lindsay Haberman, so excited to be here. I've been at UCI now 9 years, so definitely, have covered a lot of our MBA programs and born and raised SoCal native here. So super excited to be talking about the West Coast.
There you go. And hopefully the expert that we all need, because again, we have a few transplants here, so you can provide some feedback if we say the wrong stuff here. So thanks for being here. Over now to Alex Lawrence, the Assistant Dean of MBA Admissions and Financial Aid at UCLA Anderson School of Management.
Morning, Mike. Morning, everyone. Really excited, as all the other panelists, of being here. I also feed into that transplant. I'm a Jersey native, but I moved to California a long time ago. Yes, fist pump, Meg. I love that. So again, been here at UCLA. I'm not going to say how long, because when I say the number of years, people go, wow. But I'm an alumnus of the program. And like I said, moved to California many, many years ago. Love it out here. So really excited because of the regional focus of this panel, and can definitely talk on all things UCLA Anderson, and of course, living in California on the West Coast.
Awesome stuff. Thank you for being here. And last but certainly not least, we have Shannon O'Brien, Senior Associate Director, Full-Time and Evening MBA Admissions at University of Washington's Foster School of Business. Hi, Shannon.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I think I froze there for a second, but I think I'm back online. Hi, everybody. My name is Shannon O'Brien, and I work in MBA admissions, particularly with our full-time and evening MBA programs. I'm thrilled to tell you all about the West Coast. I was born and raised in Orange County, California, did my undergrad in the San Francisco Bay Area, and now I'm living in Seattle, Washington. So after 7 years on the East Coast and having lots to compare, I've got plenty to share, and I'm really looking forward to doing that today.
I like it how it's not only West Coast, Shannon, for you, but it's like you're kind of just slowly moving your way up that West Coast. So will it be Vancouver soon? Like, how far does it go?
In my dreams, Vancouver's the best.
It is very nice up there, yes. Awesome. So thank you all for being here, and thanks for those introductions. This is awesome to hear. Welcome again to today's event, right? So just a quick little summary of what we're hoping to accomplish here today, and you've kind of already heard it through our panel, introductions, these are all schools that are collected on the West Coast of the US. And because of that, there are some kind of stereotypes about what West Coast schools can offer to applicants, but there's also myths that we want to kind of dispel as we go through. So some of the questions today are going to be focused on the region that these schools are located in. The other goal of this panel and this session is to introduce these schools to each of you so you can learn a little bit more about what they have to offer. I will then ask questions of each panelist about a little bit about their application process, some unique aspects of that process. And then we'll get to some fun questions at the end, get to know the panelists a little bit more. We're all humans at the end of the day, right? So we like to do these events to show you as applicants that it's not just somebody holding a red stamp and a green stamp at the end of the day that's just approving or denying everybody to their programs. We're all humans. We're all here to have a good time. We're all hoping to admit all of you. We want to meet and admit the best candidates for each of these programs. So we're hoping that programs like this and webinars like this can help foster those interactions. Not to use one of the school names in my introduction, but I just did. All right, so moving into the first couple of questions, this will be a roundtable discussion. So all 5 of you would love to get your take on both of these questions. They're on the same slide because there's a little bit of a connection here. So the top half of this question is, like I mentioned, right? The West Coast. You think media, entertainment, the climate, the tech hubs, the nature, right? So the list of the attributes is so long, but in your opinion, what makes studying on the West Coast so great? On the flip side, given all those natural ties to the industries that are local, if I want to work in like VC or something else, right? Do I get stuck because I chose a West Coast school? Do I now have to work on the West Coast and in one of these kind of regionally locked industries, right? So kind of taking both sides of that equation if you can. So Meg, unfortunately, because you are Berkeley and you show up first in the alphabet, I'm going to start with you on this one. So what's your take on these 2 questions and how does Haas deal with career placement?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing that I would say is while you're studying in the Bay Area or on the West Coast or wherever you are in the world, you have a worldwide network. So let me just talk about that really quickly. And what I didn't share when I introduced myself is I've been at Haas for 18 years. My first 17 were working in alumni relations at Haas, and then I've been in admissions for a little over a year now. So this network is strong and it's robust. So wherever you end up going, you will have touches throughout the world, whether through the business school or through the university, which you're part of. Over 600,000 UC Berkeley alumni all over the world. I froze. Do you hear me? Yeah, okay, I froze.
Yeah.
All right. So even when you look at the industries that you're interested in, yes, you have strong connections in the geographical area where you are. So venture capital you had mentioned. Right down the road, near Julianne and Stanford, is a huge venture capital hub. And so just heading down south on the 101 a little bit, you hit huge VCs and huge opportunities. I think the biggest thing I can say, no matter where you are in the world, you will be provided with everything that you need. A network, connections, opportunities to visit companies, opportunities to visit states or other countries. You have every opportunity available to you. So much more. It's what do you utilize? What do you take advantage of? And what do you go out and get? I think that might have been a larger blanket answer, but you have opportunities wherever you go. And I do think there's something special in California and certainly on the West Coast. But wherever you are, you will have so many doors open for you.
Yeah, I think that's a great answer. And thanks for bringing in a bit also of kind of just not generally, what Haas is doing, but kind of what you'll see at MBA programs, no matter where you are. That's awesome. So now we'll switch over to Julianne. Same 2 questions. What's your take? Stanford's take as well. What can you share?
Well, my personal take is the West Coast is awesome. I've loved living out here. It's gorgeous. The geography, the national parks, the culture is completely different, I find. I mean, it's still the United States, but I find people to be happier in California. I think it might be the sunshine. So I really have enjoyed the exposure, and I'm very grateful that I had the opportunity to live in a different part of the country and to experience a different culture. So I think for anyone considering it, for the non-California natives or non-West Coast natives, I would definitely encourage you to step outside your comfort zone and to try a new part of the world. I can't speak highly enough. It's a gorgeous part of the world. And I think the culture itself exposes people to a lot of outdoor activities, lots of I don't know, hobbies, you might say, that become real passions for people. And I think that's a really exciting part. In that same vein, that culture, especially in the Bay Area, I find it to be very inspirational, very positive, very forward thinking. I think that kind of touches a bit on Stanford, which we'll talk about later, but there's this spirit of, I don't know, innovation, hope, ideas that we can do things differently. And I think that's a really exciting space to be in. Now, I've been in higher ed and admissions my whole career, but I will tell you that when I moved to the Bay Area, I too was like, wait a second, maybe I can be an entrepreneur. Maybe I can do something totally different. And I think that attitude of innovation and that spirit of just looking at things differently is pervasive throughout the whole area, which is a great thing for your next chapter in your studies. So lots of great things about the West Coast. In terms of would you be regionally locked? I think there's a couple ways to look at it. We do find that our recent grads tend to stay in the Bay Area for a couple of years, usually about 3 to 5 years. And I think that's, well, I know it's in large part because they don't want to leave yet. There's a lot of jobs. There's a lot of exciting things happening. They've had an amazing time with their MBA and formed this amazing network of friends, and they're just not quite ready for it to leave or for it to be over yet. Then you get about 5 years out, you start to see people going back to the areas that maybe their families are from, where they want to build their home. And that's not for everybody. It's certainly, you know, a sizable portion, but it's not the majority. And so you'll be able to have, you know, both options. I think there are definitely students that come in knowing they want to go back to, say, New York or Boston or their home country. And they can do that. We have, like Meg said, extensive network all over the world. And if you come in knowing that that's your ultimate goal, you're going to be focused on those internship opportunities of building that specific network, just as anyone might be building a network in, you know, their particular end goal. So I think you'll have plenty of options. I think there is some draw, though, to stay for a little while and then ultimately go out and pursue other areas, other industries, other regions as well.
Yeah, I think it's tough to leave. I mean, unless it is raining like a day like today, Meg. I mean, maybe that does deter folks from sticking around, but it's so rare. Yeah, people don't want to leave.
But yeah, it'll be sunny by this afternoon.
It'll
We're
be
okay.
sunny by the end of this session, I'm sure. So.
Yeah.
Awesome. And thank you, Julianne. That's awesome. Thanks for all those details and advice and feedback. And Lindsay, we'll switch over to you, your take on this question, both these questions as well, and how Merage kind of handles these types of things.
Yeah, love this question. And I agree with so far the two panelists. For me, I think what makes studying on the West Coast and for me personally growing up here is really the diversity. I mean, it's such a melting pot in California. I mean, I know in our surrounding area, you can go out and you can see, you know, different communities, you know, located within our, you know, Orange County space. You always know that there is going to be a community for you at the school, and especially any of the schools on this panel. I know the diversity is just so important to, you know, our culture and, you know, what we do here as a school. So for me, I mean, that's a fantastic thing about studying on the West Coast. Also, I mean, yeah, the job opportunities. I mean, our students are coming here for jobs and to, you know, kind of leave out with that outcome and that ROI. And I think for, you know, all the schools in California, we have a really fantastic ROI and career success. I know at the Merage School, you know, we have a fantastic alumni network in California. I think once a student experiences that, like Julianne said, it's hard for them to then leave. They want to stay and they want to stay here for a few years and really experience, you know, that, you know, ROI and just the location that they've, you know, studied and they really truly have come to like and love. So for me, I mean, I think those are definitely things that are, you know, great in my opinion. On the flip side, I think, you know, no, they're not stronghold to California. I think, you know, our career team does an amazing job of giving our students so many different opportunities, whether it is in California or whether it's outside of California. I think the more opportunities our students are given, the better success they're going to have. So do students look outside? Of course. I mean, there are a lot of ways our career center helps them with, you know, like one, for instance, I mean, these national diversity conferences that I know most of our MBA students attend, they're not in California, they're outside of California. And a lot of the companies that they're talking to might be outside of California, but it's again, that opportunity that's given to them to go and explore outside and find the best possible opportunity. So I think it's kind of a twofold. I think looking, you know, in California is definitely, I think, first for a lot of them, but maybe they go and they find an opportunity outside, and that's okay too. But I think just being able to provide those resources to students is really what leads to their success at the end of the day. And I know for, you know, our career team, I mean, that is definitely 110% a strength of our program. Just allowing them to explore and find the best possible path. So yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of the MBA as this vehicle to use and to really explore and find what that next step is for you and what is going to make the most sense. So yeah, I mean, I think it kind of has benefits on both sides. And I think at the end of the day, the student success is the most important. So but we love California and we love the opportunities that there are here. And we are so fortunate to be located in California and have these wonderful alumni networks and just company connections.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. You know, and the network is huge. I mean, I think that's something that every school, right, really tries to bring those folks together and make those connections. And yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's awesome. Switching over to Alex, your take as well. These two questions, the best parts of the West Coast, and can you get out of there if you want to,
Yes.
right? We're not saying you have to leave, but if you
Right.
wanted to, can you?
Right, yeah, thanks. And I'll try to add something, maybe a little different perspective. So like I mentioned earlier, originally from New Jersey, I lived in the South, I lived in the Midwest, all that my pre-MBA experience as an Anderson alumnus. And I think one of the attractive things for me way back then, and I think for a lot of MBA students who come to California and attend one of these great schools that are on this panel, or even just, you know, on the West Coast, you know, up there in Washington, I think you know, talking from the Southern California perspective, here in Los Angeles, you know, say a metropolis of about 20 million people, just a big city, having options. And I think, you know, candidates should think about, you know, the MBA experience is not just about all the work that you do in the classroom, right? There is sort of that lifestyle piece of it, right? Building out your social network, learning in the classroom, of course. But I think some of the best things about being on the West Coast too is that while you have sort of like a lot of companies that maybe say, you know, like in the question here, tech focused or entrepreneurship or whatever that may be in nature, entertainment, media, et cetera, there are opportunities to go back. You know, so like you were saying earlier, Mike, you know, it's like, yeah, you can come, you know, be very intentional about what you want to get out of an MBA program. Maybe you're coming from East Coast, Midwest, international, and you want to build up your West Coast network. I think that's also something to consider because then you can always go back. I know that all of the schools here, including UCLA Anderson, we have great corporate partners. So they are global enterprises. They're just not landlocked to California. Of course, you know, many of them do have operations, but if you want to do finance, yeah, there are opportunities to do finance on the West Coast. You just don't have to go back to, say, New York, which is a great place as well. But then I also think that, you know, kind of looking at the second part of that last question there, you know, while I'll be stuck in California, many MBAs alumni, they'll tell you, you probably hit this pivot point maybe 3, 4, 5 years after you graduate and you start thinking about, okay, you know, my goals for going to MBA, do they still line up with what I'm doing right now in this industry or in this job function, whatever that may be? And you may want to pivot. So again, whether I go into management consulting and now I want to take that sort of work experience and skill set and maybe pivot into something else, maybe I want to start my own business. I think, and the thing I'll leave with, I think what I see what a lot of UCLA Anderson alumni do is just like, they start in that career, maybe something on the corporate side, and then they start pivoting to something, maybe it's a startup, launching their own business, or maybe again going into a whole different industry. I think that's the beauty of the MBA degree. I know this is not necessarily in the purview of this question, but that's like the big thing about the ROI. It makes you very flexible. You're coming in learning some hard skills, some soft skills, and they're very transferable no matter, in my opinion, whatever industry you want to go to. But again, like I said, I'm a big believer of the MBA. Obviously, an Anderson alumnus. I live here in Southern California, so I know there's one of those fun questions at the end. You're going to talk about beach or the mountains, and I'll give my answer a little bit later. But definitely consider the Gold Coast and just the West Coast in general.
I love it. I love the foreshadowing towards the end of the event. Yes. Yeah, we're trying to have some fun today, right? It's a good one. No, and thanks for that. And it's a great point too. And not to bring up, right, the 2020, 2021, I'm not going to talk too much about what happened in those years, right? But it did open up a lot more doors of people who can kind of move around for work, and different industries are in different locations now. And there's ways to kind of start one place and end somewhere else. So I think a lot of those bridges have already kind of been built now to start someplace and somewhere else, and maybe not have to really switch too much about who you work for and the company and all that. So that's awesome stuff. So Shannon, we'll switch over to you. Thank you for being patient. I hope everyone didn't steal everything you want to say, but I will say there is one advantage that so far everyone's mentioned a lot of cool stuff about California, but you have a whole nother state you can talk about. So give us your take on these questions. What can Washington bring to the table, both as a school but also as a location? So take it on.
Yes, well, I have to echo what everyone said. Everyone's saying things that absolutely resonate with Seattle culture and what I see at Foster. After spending 7 years in New York City and working in the business school space, the biggest contrast I can see from West Coast culture to East Coast or Northeast culture is just the relaxed work-life balance that's really important here on the West Coast, and certainly so in Seattle. What this means for our students, I think, is that they are creating a network and finding really lifelong meaningful friendships while here at school and while in Seattle that have nothing to do with industry, have nothing to do with the work that they aspire to do post-MBA or the work that they did pre-MBA. They're making friendships and connections that might be revolving around hiking, skiing, exploring new restaurants and cuisine. So that's something that's really exciting that I think is so unique to Seattle's culture, certainly, which absolutely prioritizes work-life balance. I joke with some of our East Coast or Northeast applicants that when you're here in Seattle and you're networking and maybe at a happy hour at the end of the workday, and people ask how work was, just say fine. No one really wants to hear all about your workday. They want to hear about the hobbies that you're doing, the things that you're spending time doing outside of work. And that could be family, that could be different pursuits. So that's something that I think is really definitely resonates with West Coast, but certainly Seattle's culture. A lot of our students will move to Seattle for the MBA program at Foster. About 80% will. But we find that 80% of our graduates stay for at least a couple of years. And I think that's for a few reasons. One, Washington State has no state income tax. And so that's something that our students really enjoy, are making these wonderful post-MBA salaries. You can see those stats on our website, and then keeping more of that money at the end of their paycheck or at the end of their pay period. At the same time, Washington and Seattle invest a lot in local resources, clean air, clean water, lots of respect paid to the land that we have here. And there's a lot of coastline here around Seattle. So there's a lot of efforts to make sure that that's preserved for generations to come. As far as the variety of industries, we have all of the ones mentioned here and more. There have been brands that are homegrown here in Seattle, like Nordstrom's, Starbucks, Alaska Airlines, but there's Amazon, of course, but many more that are internationally recognized that absolutely insist on a slice of the Seattle pie. And that's because they want the innovative culture and a lifestyle here that just keeps people here for generations. Now, wanting to have opportunities to have flexibility in your future absolutely makes sense. Once you, as you're targeting schools, and definitely once you're getting admitted or when you're joining your school, I would strongly suggest just reaching out to alumni on LinkedIn who you found moved away from your school after the MBA program, and ask them what that situation was like. How did they set themselves up to get there? Was it something that just happened to them, an opportunity that they seized, or was it something that they worked towards for months, if not years? I know that Foster alums are very generous with their time and very eager to share those nuggets of wisdom with the next generation of Foster students. So I hope that's something that you can do as well, if that gives you some peace of mind when you're committing to a school and thinking about the long-term future post-graduation.
Yeah, some really great stuff you mentioned in there. There's one thing you mentioned about kind of teaching the East Coasters how to become West Coasters. Reminded me of like, I worked at a school one time that had a decent football program. They had this like teaching the international students what football was. Like, what are our chants? How do we cheer? When do we yell at the refs, right? All that kind of, it's almost like you need that kind of a course at Foster. Like, hey, teach these East Coasters, like slow it down a bit. You know, it's going to be a little bit more waiting in line. It's going to be okay. Talk about different things. Like, maybe you need one of those during orientation to get us all in line here, because I would just be racing, if you can't tell now, East Coast for myself. I don't know when to slow down when I travel out to the West Coast. That's useful. I like that.
You gotta give yourself grace. It takes a little bit of time, but you'll get there.
It does. I need longer trips. I got to take longer trips.
Yes.
Awesome. So thank you all for these questions and providing a lot of awesome detail. This is really, really beneficial to our audience, I hope. So now we're going to switch into this kind of second portion of the event, of the 3 different sections that we have here. And this is going to be more about each individual school, right? So we're going to go school by school. We'll give you a chance to kind of spotlight your program a bit. We would love to hear a little bit more about how your MBA program ties into your region, right? So some things that we kind of thought of by looking through everything that your schools have to offer. Are there, trips that your school does? Are there clubs and organizations that kind of tie into the region? Are there case competitions that you do? Are there just different things that students who come in can really connect to the area that you are based in? And then I'll have a couple of follow-ups for each of you, just more about your admissions process and more specifically probably the essay prompts. So first off, we will go back to the top of the alphabet, and then Shannon, I promise for the third section, we'll actually end this section with you and start the third with you. So you will get that opportunity to go first. But Meg, we'll go on to you over at Berkeley Haas. How does your program tie into the region? Give us a cool story of what students can look forward to if they were to join your program.
Yeah, and actually, before I do that, I would like to petition, instead of saying awesome, that we say Haasum. Okay,
Awesome.
That's what Haasum.
I will adjust my notes here.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I was thinking a lot about what should I highlight, because certainly we've touched on all of these, and so many of these that just going down 101, which is one of the freeways here. You can get to venture capital, you can get to Google, flying up to Seattle, you can get to Amazon. There's so many opportunities to meet these companies where you are, to have business leaders from these companies come to campus and teach. But the thing that I really wanted to highlight was our applied innovation courses. And I thought this would be a great way to really showcase experiential learning. And certainly on our website, there's so much more information. I'm just going to do a brief overview. But applied innovation gives you this opportunity to take at least one of, I think it's about 22 different courses. I'm on the website now just to kind of make sure I hit some of these, but like social sector solutions, clean tech to market, strategic and sustainable business solutions. We have climate work, hedge fund strategies, product design, food innovation. But so a lot of these industries that are very strong here in the Bay Area in California, you're taking these experiential learning classes so that you're able to learn more. You're working with a group on a project. You're working with a company, oftentimes, a business leader in this field. And you're doing this because we have access to these companies. So food innovation, and this I'm highlighting, I just read an application yesterday that was very much on food insecurity and how are we looking at our product pipeline and making sure that food is getting to people where it's needed, or healthy food, especially, is getting to people where it's needed. And this is something common at Haas, that whether it's something that you're focused on as your industry or career choice, it might also be, I'm interested in this. This is something I'd like to do more of. So I can take this experiential learning class. I can join the Food at Haas Club, so that I'm doing more work with agriculture or learning, or going to wineries. Oh, darn. Going to restaurants in the Bay Area. And I'm just talking about the food industry, but this is just a great highlight of kind of these extra things that really add so much value to understanding the world around you, the people both in your community, and how we can help others. So I may want to be a consultant, but I can also do such great work in extracurriculars and in consulting, and in those consulting companies that have these great affinity groups or these opportunities. But you have these opportunities to focus on your industry, but also lead with an empathy. And I think this experiential learning especially really gets you into those industries in this geographical area, in these companies. But again, I think very much to Shannon's point of also being part of your community, and it's part of your lifestyle, not just your 9 to 5 kind of. But lots of great opportunities for awesome experiential learning opportunities at Haas.
I love it. I love the awesomeness that you bring to that answer. And I have to mention, we do events like this, and we usually have a roundtable question about what's your favorite place to eat on campus. Now, I'm hosting this session. I took that question out because those were making me hungry, and you brought it right back in. So I appreciate that, that you tricked me on that. I didn't know you'd bring it up here, and now I'm hungry for lunch again. Okay. So my follow-up for you about your essays, I already know what it is. Again, you've done events with us before. But the what makes you feel alive essay, which applicants always have a ton of questions about, because I guess it's not super unique anymore. More schools are trying to get towards these types of questions, but you've had it for so long. For a lot of applicants, it's kind of a curveball question, right? Like, when you're writing it and when your team is thinking about looking at your essay each application cycle, and do we keep this one in or do we not, right? What prompts your team originally to even have this question on the application, and how can an applicant properly brainstorm their response to it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So what makes you feel most alive? If anyone has looked at UC Berkeley and the Haas School of Business, culture is a big part of our ecosystem. And we have 4 defining leadership principles. So when we look at this question specifically, it's really giving us a piece of who you are. We're looking at, you're going to hear words like this, but we're looking at the whole person. We're looking at the whole application. Each is a data point. One doesn't push out the others. It's just a data point to put together this puzzle of who you are. And the Alive essays give us that insight into who you are. How do you maybe spend your time when you're not at work? How do you give back to your community? The beyond yourself aspect of Haas. How are you a student always and continuing to learn? But it's really about, when you look at the application as a whole, we recommend doing this essay last. And it's because it's an opportunity to show us one more piece of you that you may not have been able to show us or share with us throughout the rest of the application. For instance, my Alive, if I were to answer it, it's being in water, swimming, which I get to do every day in the Bay Area outside. But swimming and being in water is my home. It's where I get to meditate. It's where I get to come back to myself and really feel at peace. And that's what makes me feel alive. Well, where am I going to get that when I talk about my career goals or what have you? It gives a little bit more depth into the person that we're looking at. And we are looking holistically, and we're looking for people that not only does Haas fit with you, but that you fit within our Haas culture. So it's just a beautiful way for us to get to know you a little bit better.
I love it. And the big takeaway I'm hearing there is doing it last. I think that's a great tip. Because there are a lot of inputs to applications, and I think applicants don't realize that you can put more if you do it strategically. So that's really great advice. If anyone takes anything out of this piece of this event here with doing the essay prompts. Like, yeah, look at them last maybe sometimes if it works
And
that way.
And I'm sorry, can I add one other thing? I just want to share a question that I often get is, well, Meg, what do you guys want to read? What do you want to hear about in these essays? And my response is, who cares? Who cares what I want to read about? Because honestly, it has nothing to do with me. It has to do with you showing us who you are. And when you try to guess what the admissions team wants to hear, it's probably not what we want to hear. So just tell us who you are, and that just shines through.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, great advice. So thank you for that. We're going to shift over now, not too far from you, kind of down the road here, I guess, right? Over to Julianne over at GSB. Julianne, same portion of the event here. An aspect of your program that maybe ties into the region, lots of options here for you. What do you want to talk about?
Yeah. Well, I think, there's a lot of similarity with Haas as well, both being in Silicon Valley. Stanford, we do like to say we're in the heart of Silicon Valley. And I would say it's a really important relationship. I'd say it's the campus and the surrounding areas. It's a very porous or open experience. There's a lot of relationships between the companies, the alumni, founders, investors, and Stanford University as a whole. And I'm going to step back just a bit to frame up where I'm going. So our program, it's a 2-year full-time residential MBA program. We also have a 1-year executive MSX program. I'm going to focus on the 2-year MBA. And when we're looking at the heart of our program, we're looking to develop leaders who are going to go out, change lives, change organizations, and change the world. And there's a piece of that where those organizations, those industries, they may not exist or they might not even exist now, but will become evident in the future. And so we want to prepare leaders who are able to lead with purpose and intention, make the world a better place for things that may not even exist right now. So the core of our program is developing principled leaders. So when you have that sort of mindset looking at this program, your first year of studies is going to be, most of your classes will be predetermined for you by the program. You're going to be taking your core courses, a lot of your quantitative courses, some of your ethics courses. Your first 2 quarters really are predictated by the school. There's a little flexibility in your third spring quarter, but most of that first year is going to be sort of developing and taking the courses that are core to the GSB curriculum. Your second year, however, is completely open to you. It's all electives, and you can take courses at any graduate program at Stanford, broadly speaking, even undergraduate courses. So you have about 12 units or so where you can take outside of the MBA curriculum. Some choose to do that. We also have over 90 electives every quarter. And so you have a lot of, don't quote me on that, but a lot to choose from in your second year to really define the path, to equip yourself, gather the tools, the knowledge and experience that you need for your ultimate development, your goal, your North Star. So that's sort of the context here. Now, being in the heart of Silicon Valley, there's this huge spirit of innovation, like I talked about earlier. There's a sense of optimism, a sense of change. And when we think about innovation, it doesn't necessarily mean doing something brand new, creating a new product or new industry. Sometimes it's as simple as looking at a problem differently, and how can you solve something? How can you make something better that may already exist? And so this spirit of innovation, I think a lot of people think of Stanford, especially as an entrepreneurship tech school. And it is one of our strengths. I won't downplay that, because that is one of the main strengths here at Stanford, but you have a lot of different opportunities to explore a piece of entrepreneurship or just understand the mindset. Maybe you don't want to be an entrepreneur or in VC or do anything with that, but it's probably helpful to have that lens of how you problem solve, how you think of things differently. Now, tying back to our region, again, being the heart of Silicon Valley and having that very extensive network with the region, you have some of the world's, a third of the world's unicorn within 20 miles of our campus. You have, half of the world's hottest startups, again, same radius within 20 miles of our campus. And you have the opportunity for those leaders, professionals, industry changers to come and be present in your MBA experience. And there's a couple ways that we do that. primary way is through the classroom. So most or many of our classes are co-taught between a faculty member who is theoretical research expert in the field, and then co-taught by an industry leader, someone who's doing it every day live. So you get to hear both the research and the sort of theoretical side of things coupled with what it's really like in practice. So many of our courses are co-taught in that way. So you have that exposure. You also have a lot of different guest lecturers who are coming from these many different companies within Silicon Valley who are coming to share their insights on, I don't know, climate change. It's a big one, AI right now. Whatever the topics might be for that particular course, you've got industry professionals coming in, just guest lecturing, maybe one class, and then having lunch with students afterwards. And we also have a lot of other programs outside of the classroom. You might have seen on YouTube View from the Top, where our students, the student-run program, will invite worldwide industry leaders to come and speak at campus, and the students do the interviews. And so because of our location, because of our ties within Silicon Valley, Stanford GSB has an enormous reach and really will be able to equip you and provide you with both that theoretical and practical lens, along with the day-to-day up close personal relationships with industry leaders, company leaders, investors, mentors, and who knows what comes out of those relationships. You might have your next job or a mentor, an internship, funding for your idea. So there's a lot of benefits, I think, to being within Stanford and being fully here and taking in all of those opportunities to then equip yourself to one day be a leader that will go out and do something incredible for the world.
I love it. Thank you for that well thought out answer. Very nicely. You kind of brought us through that whole context. I like that a lot. And that connection to industry is fantastic. On to a little follow-up about an essay prompt that you have, which is kind of the main essay within the application. What matters most to you and why? Which, some applicants may view as pretty philosophical and maybe a little daunting to kind of really think deeply about themselves. So how would you recommend someone to, what can someone do when they're setting out to respond to that question?
Yeah.
And how deep should they really get?
Yeah. And it's a very personal question too. It's very hard to answer. So I would don't take that lightly. It's a hard question to answer. And I'll step back a little bit. So when we're thinking about this question and why we're asking it, so there's a couple of reasons. One, I talked about your path is going to be completely different from your classmates. You're here to set out your own journey, create your own path, and to one day become a leader that will change lives, change organizations, and change the world. And you're going to have a lot of choices and a lot of decisions to make. And like I said, there might be things that you are impacting and influencing and changing that don't even exist yet. So what is your North Star? This essay is really trying to get to the heart of that. What is your guiding light, your North Star, the things that drive you to make those decisions? Tactically, the what matters most to you, it doesn't matter. Whatever it is to you, it might be your family, it might be your religion, it might be your job, but it might not be. It might be a hobby, it might be a pet. There's, I've seen the gamut of what matters most to somebody. The heart of the essay really, though, is the smallest word in that prompt is why. That's where you should really spend your time and thinking about why is that thing or person or experience the most important thing to you, and how is that guiding your life? You're going to have a very self-reflective experience at the GSB. We hope that you'll come in as a very accomplished person already and be transformed. So we hope that this 2-year experience, and we expect, not just hope, we expect, we've designed it to be transformative. We've designed it to change your own life first, because how can you go out and change the world if you can't even understand that principle in your own life? So we hope you'll come be transformed into this principled leader who will have these different tools and skills and enhancements to go on and make a broader impact. And so this exercise is setting your mindset up for this 2-year experience. It's one of many. I would say the whole application, but in particular, the self-reflective piece of really diving deep and understanding what matters most to you, preparing to go through that transformational experience and diving deep into what matters most to you. And I think if you can go, honestly, the best essays are the ones that can really get to the core. And, if you read this essay 5 years ago or 5 or 10 years in the future, that thing should still ring true. That's sort of the level of depth. And not everyone can get there. It doesn't mean that you won't be admitted, but that is the core of that essay. We genuinely want to know what matters most to you and why.
I love it. A lot of great self-reflection and a little bit of a similar take with Haas, right? It makes you feel alive. It's those personal questions. You can get to know applicants a little bit better there, which is pretty nice. I like that. Awesome stuff. Okay, so thank you, Julianne. We'll move on now to Lindsay over at Merage. Same start to these questions here of what is the connection to the local region that ties right back into your program, and a little bit more about Merage.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think when I think about Merage and I think of, you know, industry connections, I mean, a lot of them have been talked about, obviously tech. I mean, we definitely are a tech-focused school. We have a lot of connections there. The other industry that I wanted to talk a little bit about earlier was really the biotech, healthcare, and pharmaceutical space. Orange County is home to probably a third of Fortune 500 companies located right in our backyard. A lot of biotech companies. It is a huge strength of our program. Anything from Johnson & Johnson, Edwards Life Sciences, Medtronic, Abbott, AbbVie. I mean, the list goes on. There are a lot of fantastic companies in our backyard. But really thinking about, you know, the other kind of pillar would be innovation and entrepreneurship. When I think about our school, again, we're a really vibrant startup, you know, ecosystem in Orange County. I've seen the growth of the school in the last probably 5 years. And it's really exciting to see that. And I think, you know, ways that we really kind of lean into those areas. I think one, probably the most popular amongst our students, as I've heard, is we offer a consulting project elective class. And it is exactly that. It is a consulting project. The faculty sources projects from local companies in the area. One of, you know, a couple of them that I know he has used in the past, obviously Johnson & Johnson, tying into healthcare, Amazon, tying into tech. Even Kia Motors, which is headquartered in Irvine as well. We have a lot of, you know, automobile companies, again, located in Orange County. So those were 3 projects that our students really got to get a real life hands-on experience working with. And they go through a real life scenario, you know, brought up by any one of those companies, and the students work through it through the whole class in groups. At the end, they get to actually present to executives at those companies and really get that hands-on experience that I think the MBA program is all about and what our students truly do want. So that's one thing. And then the other, kind of tying into the innovation and entrepreneurship. We launched a Master's of Innovation and Entrepreneurship about 2 years ago. We have a Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship as well. And our students get the opportunity to compete in what we call the New Venture Competition, which is a startup accelerator competition at the school. Fantastic experience. It has grown again. I mean, last year there were over 300 participants at the school that were participating in this. Students formed teams amongst MBA or even all of our other programs that we have at the school. And they kind of work through their, you know, pitch idea to investors. I mean, we bring in investors that will work in the local area that are looking for that next, you know, idea. And it truly is such a fantastic experience for our students to go through, where they're getting just, again, going back to that hands-on experience that I know is so important in the MBA program. And they're getting to do it with, you know, investors in the local area. And I think a lot of students, you know, really view that experience as something that they can utilize maybe as a 5-year outside of the MBA. I also think a lot of our students come in and they have that clear short-term goal where it's like, I want to work for XYZ company for a few years. Past that, maybe 5 years down the line, most of them want to kind of get into the entrepreneur side of things. And so to be able to pair their MBA experience with, kind of this innovation and entrepreneurship aspect really gives them a very well-rounded experience and really propels them to kind of do what they want to do post MBA and even 5 years out. So I think those pillars are really strengths for our program. Again, kind of going back to the tech, the biotech, and the innovation and entrepreneurship. It's just really been exciting to see the growth in the last 5 years of the school. Because again, I started with Merage about 9 years ago, and it looks completely different. Just the growth that we've had amongst all of our programs, adding new programs. I think it's really exciting, and it's a really exciting place to be in Orange County.
It's awesome. Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot of really cool pillars there with the innovation areas, the entrepreneurship areas. And I drive a Kia, so that was a nice connection back to myself again. So for your essays, we took a look through, and one that we found pretty interesting is that one of the essays to get into your program mentions how an applicant may want to contribute through student-led organizations, right? So different clubs and activities that are available on campus. And our thought was, it's pretty easy to say, I run a lot and I want to join the marathon club, right? Or something like that, or the runners club. But is it okay for somebody to kind of use that space to explore other things that they may want to get into that they haven't yet done? How is the best way for people to understand what clubs and organizations are even available on your campus? So, if I'm new and I don't know enough about Merage yet, but I want to, answer this question properly, how can I find out more?
Yeah, I like the take that you took on it. We hope that others take that take on that question.
Good.
Yes, there are so many fantastic clubs and organizations. We are our culture, we are a smaller program, and we thrive in this very tight-knit, collaborative, supportive environment here where our students really, really get to know one another very, very well. And we hope that they take very active roles in clubs and organizations, because there are so many that can kind of help them, professionally, personally. But again, I think it's important that, students do come in. If there is a need that they see that, there's a club we don't have, 100%. We've seen probably 3 new clubs in the last 2 years that have been formed. So if there is a need for it, and that student wants to be kind of the charge for it, 100%. I think that it's important to have clubs and organizations that really encompass all of the students at the school. So yeah, I definitely think those are like the heartbeat of our program. I think students really want to get involved in many of them. But yeah, if there's something you see that is not there, yeah, we're always open to kind of form those new clubs and organizations. And then the other part of your question, I think, again, our student population, they are so giving of their time. I think the best way to find out more about the culture, the experience at Merage, is through our students. We have a fantastic group of student ambassadors on our website. They are honestly the heartbeat of the program. They are very open and willing to talk to prospective students. You can reach out directly right there, schedule a time to meet any of them, and they will take the time and really answer all your questions. And I think that's got to be a huge decision-making factor when you're looking at schools, culture, community, where you fit in, what the school has to offer, for your growth. The only way to really kind of figure that out is through the students. And I think they speak to that culture and community really well. And, you'll get a very good sense of what it's like to be a student at the school, how they utilize resources to really help them in their, program. So reach out to students, please. They are more than willing to offer their time, a quick chat, 20-minute call, whether it's on Zoom. We do host a lot of students. If you are in the area, we love visitors. Please come visit campus, get a feel for what it's like. I think that's also another really important factor when you're kind of looking at programs and deciding what the best option is for you.
Awesome. Good stuff. And yes, connect with the students. They would know, right? They already did the essay as well, so they can directly help out with how to give their take on that. Awesome stuff. Thank you for that help. Over now to Alex at UCLA. Same questions. How do you connect your program back to the community that you are in, and any other cool things you want our audience to know about UCLA?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Mike. And again, just taking a step back, as the name implies, we are here in Los Angeles. I described it earlier, 20 million people in the broader LA metropolitan area, but we're on the west side of LA. And, for this global audience that's on this call, when you look at the position of where the UCLA campus is, which is a fantastic campus, I think it's a great sort of launch pad to get involved with the community. Talking about UCLA in general, the three, I would say, core responsibilities of UCLA to serve its mission is around teaching, research, as well as service to the local and the global communities. And the reason why I bring that up is because when UCLA Anderson students get involved, like I mentioned before, in the classroom and outside, there are a lot of ways to engage in those different ways. And with our UCLA Anderson students, I think one of the appealing things about our program for our students is that we provide a flexible curriculum. So like all the other schools in our 2-year program, you do have those foundational classes at the core: marketing, finance, statistics, etc. But just to sort of support an individual's interest in their career goals, their self-development, we're not necessarily going to push people in a direction that just services the school. Well, we do have those who are interested in technology careers, management consulting, and finance. When you look at the diversity of our program in terms of industry interests, we have people who also may be interested in real estate, entertainment and media, so doing things in the social impact area, again, you name it. So, we're not a school that just sort of services one or two different industries. I think that's one of the beauties of our program, is that you have a diversity of individuals coming from different backgrounds, career interests, looking to go in. And again, like I was describing earlier, maybe they have a particular industry in mind, job function, a company in mind. But then when they start going through our curriculum, and which has 15 different specializations, so we built out a roadmap where individuals can take certain courses to support their career goals and interests. We're going to be putting people into teamwork a lot in the classroom in their career interests, but then also, just like was mentioned earlier by my colleagues here on the panel, there's ways that you can get involved with maybe a student club. Maybe you want to start a club. Maybe you want to venture off of the UCLA Anderson campus into the broader UCLA campus, where we have opportunities to maybe pursue one of 8 concurrent degrees that we have at the law school, the med school, you name it. Maybe because you are a career switcher, you're going to decide that, not only are you going to do the summer internship, but you may also do an internship during the academic year. We keep sort of a statistic that we've been tracking, and we've seen a lot of growing interest by our students to take that opportunity. So about 80 to 85% of students will do some form of, lack of a better term, calling it an academic internship, I'm sorry, because they know that they want to explore those opportunities a little bit more, build out their resume. But then, because we provide an experience here at the school where we want to take those lessons learned that you get from the classroom and actually apply it, there's opportunities to do independent work. You may want to also participate in a sort of a mini consulting assignment, or maybe you have an entrepreneurial idea. So we're going to connect you with those angel investors, those VC firms, to help you support and build out your own business, or maybe work in those institutions. So there's a lot of different creative ways that you can get involved on the UCLA campus, on the UCLA Anderson campus, or even in the broader LA area. And one other thing I'll mention is that because many, many years ago, we did add a requirement that you had to satisfy a global curriculum piece, there's opportunities to, when traveling abroad, doing some of those, say, consulting projects, working with an institution that has a real business need, a real business challenge, and you can do an assignment or a project with classmates over the 6-month period and have a real deliverable. And I've seen in some cases where students will take some of those opportunities, those networking chances, to also maybe parlay that into a full-time offer later on after they graduate. So there's a lot of creativity, there's a lot of curriculum, flexibility in our curriculum for our students to engage not only the UCLA Anderson campus, but the UCLA campus, and then of course the broader area. And you know, I didn't do a good job of my own introduction earlier, but yeah, I've been in this role for 11 years. I've been with the school much, much longer than that. But what I've seen is that we've grown, and being on the cusp of some of that innovative things that are happening, you know, AI, you know, I'm surprised it's taking us so long to maybe mention that, but I'm sure like at other schools like Anderson, we do have coursework that our students are equipped with different tools to help them understand the AI landscape. Every student does get a license from the Microsoft Copilot platform that they can use. So we've really embraced that piece of it, because we, again, know that when our students do graduate, I mentioned this earlier, in that 4 to 5 year period, they may come at a point where they want to pivot, and we want to make sure that we're supporting them, not only as students, but as alumni, as they go out into the global marketplace. Again, we love when they stay local. We love it more if they want to go back out into other parts of the country and the world, and maybe even come back into the Southern California area to continue to support the UCLA mission.
I love it. And you did introduce us that way, but you didn't want us to know the years. You were kind of holding back on that. Come on.
That's why I threw out the 11 years, and then I said, but I've been here a lot longer. So.
There you go. There you go. Okay. So we'll just say 11 and a half is the total, right? Yeah, we'll go with that. So for your essay prompts, you know, the thing that stood out to our team is within your third essay within the application, where it asks applicants to explain how they would hope to use their time at UCLA to reach their stated career goals. But one of those things, you know, kind of underlines also the notion of being a transformative leader. And so what we wanted to ask you is, how can someone responding to that prompt balance the basics of like blocking and tackling of, I will take this class, or I will go do this internship to then reach those goals, versus kind of those intangible things like, I'm going to build some leadership skills, I'm going to talk to mentors. You know, how would you recommend someone can answer it properly?
Yeah, sure. So, you know, at UCLA Anderson, being a transformative leader means developing the balance of hard and soft skills, right? To, you know, to thrive in whatever type of organization that you land or that you're participating in. And, you know, how we help prepare our students in that is in a lot of different formats I mentioned earlier, right? You get those skill sets in the classroom, there's workshops, but when candidates are looking at how to answer that question, again, I always tell people we want to make sure it's the right fit for you and for us. So how can we help you into being and developing into that transformative leader? You know, transformative leaders are ones that are going to solve complex problems. They're going to use innovative thinking. You know, they're going to drive action, you know, by inspiring others, you know, so, you know, again, that teamwork aspect, motivating individuals, but at the same time being able and willing to adapt at the same time and innovate throughout the whole process. So whenever I sort of host our own information sessions here on the campus or with other partners, I always talk about, you know, we're looking for candidates who are going to come on our UCLA Anderson campus and make it better. So, you know, when you look at our website, and you can get more definitions around what we are looking for in terms of helping develop transformative leaders, there's a lot of different ways that our students can come in and not necessarily try to address all those different areas that we describe on our website, but maybe there's a certain sort of piece of our transformative leadership definition that you say, like, that's what I want to come on. I've already been leaning into this in my pre-MBA experience, and I want to amplify that more by building on these skill sets, applying that to whether our leadership foundations, our executive coaching programs that we have, and then again, making our campus better. So that again is just sort of an idea of how one can address that question in terms of like, okay, now I see how Anderson defines what is the transformative leader, how we're helping support students go through that. How can I come to the program, not only make the campus better, but also work on my own self-development?
It's fantastic. And it's another example of the common thread through a lot of these questions here is there's this fit requirement on both sides, right? And I think Meg may have mentioned it or Julianne earlier, where you're looking for the fit from the student, but they should also be fitting you as well. And these types of prompts can kind of see how those potential fits can really come together. So this is that's really helpful. Thank you for that essay advice. And Shannon, you've been super patient. I appreciate that. And for everyone here, I know we're a few minutes over. That's my fault. I'm enjoying this session and I'm not really holding people to like certain times or anything. So thank you all for providing awesome information. Like I'm learning a lot, so I'm just kind of letting it run. And I just realized now we're a little bit over. So take your time, answer the question as well. Roundtable, I'll skip a bit when we get there, but tell us how the program connects to your local region, and then I'll follow up with some essay advice.
Certainly. Thank you so much. So a few connections that I absolutely want to highlight and are favorites across our student body. First would be a strong and deep connection to our Challenge for Charity organization. This organization spends the entire academic year raising volunteer hours and money for a few local organizations that are near and dear to foster MBAs. One of them is the University Village Food Bank. That's our neighborhood here in Seattle. The other one is the Boys and Girls Club of Kirkland, as well as the Special Olympics for Washington. It's really cool to see all the efforts that our students take over the year to be able to support these organizations, and they've been doing so for years, decades. We see alumni come back and donate their resources and time to these efforts as well. And understandably, MBAs are incredibly competitive, and so they're constantly raising the bar, making sure they're giving a little bit more than they did last year. Another program I want to talk about is a partnership that we have here with Foster MBA and our Global Business Center with Sankofa Impact. This is a Seattle-based nonprofit that focuses on place-based learning, and particularly education that confronts the U.S. history of racism and uplifting stories of resistance in our nation. So our students work with this organization and they can opt into this class that is under our study abroad page if you're looking for it, though it is a domestic course called Race, Culture, and Business and as an MBA immersion in the American South. And so with Sankofa Impact, this local organization, we take students to the American South once a year where we focus on the role that business plays in both perpetuating inequities in this country, but also affecting change both in the past and the opportunities that lay forth ahead. At Foster, we believe and we instill in our students that they will use their MBA and their what they have in life in the future to make the world a better place through business. And so these are a couple of ways that our students are doing that. But in addition to the hard work that they do with these different organizations and in these courses, our students definitely like to have fun. We see that a lot with our Huddle Club that plans events like local tailgates for our home games. We had an incredible home game, finally defeating Michigan. We're taking ski trips to Whistler, BC, which is just a few hours north and incredibly beautiful. And then planning all sorts of really fun local opportunities, just enjoying the scenery from everything from the Puget Sound to the mountains and lakes and all of that. So I definitely wanted to mention those, as well as our executive mentorship opportunity. So friends of the school, alumni will come back and offer themselves as mentors to our MBA students. Our MBAs get to opt into these different mentorships or lottery for a particular mentor. And these are leaders in a variety of industries and a variety of functions within those industries. And our students have access to them over a number of touch points throughout the year, as well as via text or email. So this is a person that has some incredible experience and work that our students very well might be pursuing themselves. And our students get to pick their brains, understand how they got there. At the same time, these mentors get a ton out of participating in this. They want to know what the next generation of business leaders are thinking. What are they prioritizing? What is their vision for the industry that they're in? And so they get tons from this. One of our favorite executive mentors is Eric Nordstrom, who is of the Nordstrom family with the International Department Store. And so he's been a tried and true mentor that our students really enjoy learning from, especially as Nordstrom is just seeing so much change and innovation in e-commerce and retail recently. So those are a few community connections I want to share with you.
Awesome. I believe, did they also just take over Saks or something too? I think it's like I'm catching different news. I'm not in fashion. I'm wearing Under Armour, so I don't know what I'm talking about. But anyways, so moving on with some advice for one of your essay prompts. So essay number 2, which asks for applicants to talk about how they've demonstrated resilience in the past, but also how they will continue to demonstrate resilience while they're in the MBA program. So our team just was curious about what advice you would have on how someone can allocate the word count towards both of those sections of the same prompt, right? Because it seems like maybe telling the story of how they've dealt with resilience in the past could take a little longer than how they might deal with it in the future. So just any advice to someone on how to kind of split that question up. And then if you have any, examples maybe of how someone does experience that kind of resilience in the MBA program, either from your experience of what you've seen with students or what you've seen in these essays in the past.
Yeah, well, and I think that this essay particularly gives a bit of anxiety to applicants who feel this pressure that they need to share this incredibly unique, never been heard of kind of trial or tribulation in their life. And not only do they have to have experienced that, but they also have to be comfortable and able to articulate that in an essay on paper to a team of admissions counselors that they've never met. And so I hope that if that's something that has given you any ounce of worry, that I'm giving you permission in this moment to shake that off. We are looking for either professional or personal accounts of where you've learned and demonstrated resilience. But I want to really emphasize here that professional is totally okay, if not more than okay. At Foster, work experience is very important to us. We are absolutely looking at the number of years of work experience that you're bringing into the program and what you've accomplished in that years of post-undergrad full-time work experience most commonly. So sharing those kind of examples can be really great ways to demonstrate that you have the necessary professional experience to not only be able to participate actively with your peers in the classroom, but also be a strong candidate for post-MBA and internship opportunities. So that's something to definitely keep in mind as you're thinking through what might you want to write about. And hopefully with those words of wisdom, you see that it's okay to write about, it's okay to spend time writing about maybe shorter instances of stories. It's something where you might be more comfortable sharing, where you don't feel like you need to share an abundance of detail in order to get your story across. So hopefully that that is something that's helpful and makes a little bit of sense. Ultimately, resilience is really important to us because we know that just because our students are taking a pause in their career for 2 years, they will certainly experience trials and trial, error, all of the above here during the MBA program. The reality is that our students are shooting for some really incredible goals and people are going to hear no's. They're going to have friction perhaps on a working team. They're going to have to decide out of these 8 events that are happening this week, but I only have 5 days in the week. What am I going to prioritize? How am I going to make best use of my time and energy? When am I going to rest? We want to know that you've got some great experience, some helpful experience that you've learned from, that you've been able to surmount with the either through your own help or with the help of others. We want to know that you've been able to get through that, and you're going to be able to bring that resilience to Foster and get through what are going to be plenty of other challenging times too, when it comes to pursuing and investing in yourself with an MBA. So hopefully with that understanding of what we're looking for, that helps tailor the message that you're hoping to share in your resilience essay.
Again, super helpful. And thank you all for going through kind of all of these different topics throughout the session. We have a couple roundtable questions and we're very over time. So we can either skip these or go through them. I'll raise a hand. Should we skip them or we want to go through them? It looks like we can go really fast, like a minute each of you, maybe. Okay. So Shannon, we'll stick with you. So something you love about living on the West Coast, favorite spot on campus, and then are you a beach or a mountain person? So you can take all 3.
I think my favorite thing right now, today, about living on the West Coast is proximity to Hawaii. I'm going for my second time this year and very excited, burning through some wonderful Hyatt points and Alaska Airlines miles. Favorite spot on campus would be right outside my window is this gorgeous red and orange fall tree that is turning beautiful colors. And so fall has hit us in Seattle and it's just the absolute best. And then beach or mountains, it's the West Coast. You don't have to choose. I'll take both.
Great answer. Kind of you're on the fence, but I'll take it. It is a good answer. I will take that. And Hawaii doesn't really give either way because you could be climbing volcanoes or sitting on the beach. So you're not really showing your cards there. I like that. Alex, on to you. Same three.
Yeah, so thing I love about living on the East Coast, on the West Coast, sorry, again, originally from the East Coast, so I did all that snow stuff. So I have to, talk about the weather, but more specifically, access. I just love the opportunity, whether it's just like, okay, going and hiking or being in sort of like the metro and, access to food, entertainment, sports, all those type of things. So I just like and really enjoy the access piece. And I love the previous, Shannon's comment about just sort of like the international launch pad to go Asia, Latin America, again, all that. Was my favorite spot on campus. Oh, the Wooden Center, which is really right close to another athletic field because every summer Real Madrid comes in and plays sometime during the off season. The Lakers, old and new, will come and just have pickup games at the Wynn Center. So it's always something in that sort of sports entertainment media genre. It's just like there's never a sort of like a common day here on the UCLA campus. Last thing, beach or mountains. Again, I'm going to go with both because I'm a big snowboarder. So I did this last year, snowboard at Big Bear in the morning and then go for the bonfire at Santa Monica Beach in the evening time, friends, drinks, cocktails. It was, got to go with both.
Yeah, it sounds pretty fun, actually. Good stuff again. Lindsay, over to you. Same three questions.
Yeah, I mean, West Coast. Obviously it was said, but yeah, I mean, access. We have the best of really all worlds here. I mean, you can, like you said, end up in the mountains in the daytime and then end up at the beach in the evening. I mean, just the fact that you can do that, I mean, it is fantastic. Also, I mean, the weather, I mean, you cannot beat the weather here in California, usually sunny. It is a little gloomy here, but that will go away very quickly. Favorite spot on campus. So interesting fact, UCI, all the buildings are built in a circle. So in the middle is what we call Ring Road. And it is a great place to kind of unwind with colleagues. We will go out there and walk Ring Road. It's about 1.5 miles. So all just beautiful, greenery in the middle of Ring Road, all the buildings surround it. So that's kind of a fun fact about UCI. And I'm going to get, I have to say beach. My kids are Southern California kids and we are at the beach all year round. We do go to the mountains. It is fun, but they're beach girls. So I will say the beach.
All right. I love it. Good stuff there. Julianne, over to you.
Okay, favorite thing on the West Coast, sunshine, easy. Favorite spot on campus, there's a couple secret gardens hidden throughout Stanford's campus. My two favorites are the Cactus Garden and the Papua New Guinea Statue Garden. So you kind of stumble upon them when you're walking and it's awesome. And then I'm going to say mountains. I'm a skier. I got to go with mountains.
I like it. Okay. So we are very close to having a tie to break here, Meg, with some of these answers. And also, the garden's not a secret anymore. So I don't, we have a couple hundred people that are going to know about that now. Okay, Meg, let's bring us home here. What do you think?
So West Coast, the sun is coming out now. So 100% the weather, that it's just lovely here. Sunshine, water. As I said, I swim every day outside, no matter what time of year. And I love that. My favorite place on campus, sorry to be so cheesy, but the Haas School of Business. Not only is it beautiful, but we're right across the street from Memorial Stadium, which is where our California Golden Bears play. We hear the band practicing at night before football games. We have our new building, which is Platinum LEED certified. They can go to the top and you have a view of the whole Bay Area out to the Golden Gate. So it's really a stunning location. And then I think you can guess that I'm a beach girl. Gotta get me to water. Even if I go to Tahoe, which isn't very far from here, I go in the summer to go swim. So yeah, beach for the win.
Beach for the win. Beach takes it. So thank you all. Thanks our panelists. We're gonna have them go get a well-deserved now, after almost 80 minutes here, break for like a minute or two before we open up breakouts. So thank you all for participating and giving us a lot of awesome information. This was very helpful. So we'll see you in the breakouts in about a minute or so. And for that minute, I will do my little quick Clear Admit chat just to give our panelists an opportunity to get a drink of water, stretch for a second as they answer all of your questions. I did see a question in the chat about, is there a video recording? Yes, there is. It'll be available later this week for you. So we will get that out to you as soon as we have it. As far as some other cool Clear Admit items to share with you, if you are in the process of applying right now and you're wondering what goes on at admissions, when do these decisions come out, when are interview invites arriving, what about those decision days, how do schools release decisions, we have it all for you. So don't try to guess, don't try to figure it out on your own. Look at the school's website, and if it's totally unclear to you, come over to Livewire, because Livewire is where we post live admissions results from applicants who are going through the process. It's actually user generated. So if you are in the process right now and you're waiting on an invite from a certain school, maybe even one of the schools on the panel today, you can come and sort by that school on our Livewire feed and just see when those things typically come out. And for this current cycle, you can see who's already getting those invites and what do their profiles look like and what their stats are. So Livewire is just one of many social tools that we offer on our ClearMet website. The link is available in the room right now, and we'll send it to you when we send you the video later this week. Another cool prep guide for interviews, since it is interview season. If you are a round 1 applicant, or if you're a round 2 or later, hopefully you'll be doing an interview prep at some point in the future for yourself. So we do have interview guides. We also have a full interview hub with a lot of great content that we've written over the years, all free to access. And then our interview archives, which is a collection of user-generated interview reports of when they have gone and interviewed at these schools. They put down the questions they were asked, the type of vibe that they had with the interviewer, what access the interviewer had to their application materials, and et cetera, et cetera. So if you're interested in what goes on in these MBA interviews and how you can prepare yourself to have a successful interview process, check out the interview archives again over on Clear Admit, and I'll put that link live in the chat as well. With that, because we are a little bit over time, I want to open up the breakouts to give our panelists a chance to answer your questions and give you all, for those who are sticking around with us, a chance to ask those questions of our panel. You can hop between each of the different rooms within the breakouts, so feel free to spend time with each of our panelists to get your questions answered. These portions of the event are not being recorded, so get into the room, ask your question, hang out in the school that you're interested in to learn more. And I'm sure that they'll share some contact information or website links or things like that within each room. Last but not least, thank you all for joining us today. This was a great session. I apologize, my own fault for running over time a slight bit here, but I thought it was really good information and I didn't want to stop anybody from talking. I mean, this is 5 great schools we have in the room and a lot of really great information being shared. So thanks for sticking it out with us. Go back, watch that video to pick up on details, and have fun in the breakouts, which are going to open in 3, 2, 1. They're open right now. So thanks again. Check out all the cool resources on Clear Admit. Pop into those rooms. If you have any difficulty in the breakout rooms, or if you cannot see them right now, you may need to jump into the Zoom app, not your browser. So log out of the session, come right back in on one of the apps, whether that's on desktop or mobile or tablet. And then you will be able to see the breakouts within this session, and panels will be hanging out for as long as they possibly can. Originally, we usually say around 25 minutes or so, but I took up some of that time. So, get into those rooms, ask those questions, and feel free to pop around. We will hopefully see you all very soon at either a future Clear Admit event on our Livewire feed, reading our content, listening to our podcast, or anywhere Clear Admit can be found. Thanks again for joining us, and enjoy the West Coast. I'm an East Coaster, but tell you what, it's kind of hard to not think about, checking out the West Coast or planning a vacation or a trip soon. So hopefully you all are doing the same. All right. Enjoy it. If you have any questions, let us know in the chat. We'll still be hanging out. I'm going to drop off a video and go on mute, but I'll be hanging out as long as breakouts are open. So thanks again, and we'll see you soon.